Where do we start with this one? Why don't we actually just get the shithousery out of the way first? Erling Haaland absolutely destroyed today by Gabriel, who once again not only marked him and kept him quiet, but then also celebrated in his face immediately after the first goal. But then the youngster Miles Lewis-Skelly scores the third goal for Arsenal and does Haaland's celebration. What a performance from Arsenal, a complete masterclass from start to finish, and we're going to break it down right now as best as we can. I'm going to show you exactly how Mikel Arteta, the former student of Pep Guardiola, got the best of his mentor and exposed City's weaknesses. But before we do, let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of the match? Honest thoughts, opinions, and where did it go wrong for Manchester City? There's a few concepts that were prevalent in today's match, and we'll break them down one by one. The first one was the main key to Arsenal's success, which was the high press and defensive organization to eliminate the majority of City's threats. The next was the amount of useless possession that Manchester City had, which I think hurts them a lot more than it helps them. And when City finally started to have a sense of urgency and an intent to score with their possessions, they looked a lot more dangerous through their wide play and crossing the ball into the box. But because City had to use wide players to create crossing opportunities and they had to push so far forward, it left them susceptible to the counterattack, which came from Arsenal being so organized defensively. Finally, and as usual, what's become a staple of these tactical analysis videos is the special players portion. I'll keep saying this, but the simple truth is that when you have better players with better performances, you will likely almost win every single game. And Arsenal proved that their faith in the youngsters is going to pay off tremendously. It paid off today, and it's going to pay off in the future so long as they're given these opportunities in big matches. So let's get into it and break down Arsenal's high press. I think the reality about Manchester City now is that they're no longer untouchable in the build-up. Teams are finding much more success against City when they high press, forcing a mistake out of the back and being close to the goal to score. And not even 2 minutes into the match, and Arsenal found themselves up 1-0. They kept doing this as the match went on, forcing City into giveaways or throw-ins, and if we take a closer look, I can break down exactly how this works. Arsenal match up man for man, and eventually one player releases to press the player on the ball, forcing Ortega into a longer ball that the backline for Arsenal was prepared for. And this is the difference between Arsenal and a lot of the other teams that City play. Some teams press really well with their front players and they take that risk, but they don't prepare for the long ball and City gets in behind. This is exactly how City scored a couple goals on Chelsea just last week. They forced the long ball, but they couldn't defend it and gave City way too much space. Arsenal know that the long ball is coming and they're comfortable with Gabriel and Saliba to win the aerial battle against Erling Haaland. Arsenal were relentless with the high press in both the first and second half, leading to an opportunity for Kai Havertz that should have easily been 2-0. An opportunity that the world-class striker that Arsenal need would have scored. And don't get me wrong, brilliant performance by Kai Havertz, but you guys already know my take on this, so I'm not even going to waste your time. And so with all the confidence from the high press, a man that isn't even supposed to shoot scores a goal. Thomas Partey, with a lot of help from the deflection, scores Arsenal's second, which came only a minute after Haaland equalized, and really began the downfall of City from there. But it wasn't just the high press that Arsenal felt comfortable with. When they chose not to go, they dropped into a mid-block, creating a block around Bernardo Silva or anyone who popped into the six, and then they'd front screen the two dangerous players coming into the half spaces so they couldn't receive the ball either. With Haaland being marked tight by Gabriel, Saliba, or even both, the only real options for City were the wide players. And I'm surprised that they didn't realize this earlier, because this is where the possession really killed City. Possession should always have an intent to score. It cannot be just for the sake of keeping the ball. I counted multiple situations in which City had the ball for over an entire minute without creating a single chance or putting themselves in a better spot than where they started. So here's where I would be extremely frustrated if I was a City fan. We're finally at a point where possession is no longer as appreciated as before. And that's only because we found that it doesn't always translate to winning matches. City moves the ball from side to side with no sense of urgency, no intention to shoot from distance, no intention to cross, and ultimately all that's doing is wasting their own time. There's players in the box, Erling Haaland specifically, who loves a good cross, and City were in no rush. Arsenal were well organized, and the only way you can unbalance them is to start being much more direct. Find ways to get the ball in the box, bouncing all over the place, and hope that you're in the right space at the right time. City did this only a few times for as much possession as they had, but when they did, it made it a little shaky at the back for Arsenal. And this is how they also scored their goal. The ball gets played wide, it finds Savinho from Foden, and then he crosses it into Haaland, who isn't marked well by Saliba. If I was Pep and his staff looking at the film after the match, I'd be upset at the amount of missed opportunities from wide areas. And to be fair, I know Pep and his staff know a lot more about the game than me, but today, City's lack of awareness of the situation was a big part of their failure, because they possessed, they got numbers high, and they overplayed when they shouldn't have. And all of that just leads to the counterattack. with players like Martinelli, who know as soon as Arsenal wins the ball, they can't waste any time in getting forward. And with his speed, Arsenal were able to use the counterattack to their advantage. He almost scores a goal in the 68th minute, and then a little bit later on, he assists Kai Havertz for the 4th goal in the 76th. And a top team like Arsenal usually will punish you if you aren't clean enough to keep the ball. So that's the majority of the game plan and how I saw the tactics of the match. However, we do have to discuss the quality of individual players. Both teams have special players, but today, only Arsenal were the ones that showed it. 18-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly, who almost wasn't even going to be an option for this match because of his red card against Wolves, not only gets the red card overturned, but plays brilliantly through the 90 minutes, and has the confidence to score a goal and hit Haaland's celebration right after. And then you have Ethan Nwaneri, the 17-year-old who gets subbed on in the 84th minute and scores a goal that leaves Ortega planted after being on the field for less than 10 minutes. And I know players are getting better younger and younger, and we're seeing more wonder kids break into the scene more often, but let's just picture ourselves at 17 or 18 and tell me, what were you doing at that age? Because I'll tell you what we weren't doing. We weren't scoring a goal against Manchester City. So we have to give them credit for the quality that they showed and also for the confidence and faith that Arteta and Arsenal had in them to play in such a big match. A match that if they had tied or lost would have almost basically guaranteed the end of the title race. And even though it might be hanging by a thread, it is still alive for now. And you know, in the Premier League, anything can happen. So remember, if you guys enjoyed this tactical analysis, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comment section exactly what you thought. We'll catch you guys in the next one.